Hello and welcome back to Planet Hog, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me on this most auspicious evening. And today's subject matter is a bit... Man, there's been a lot of touchy subjects as of late, so I'm just going to touch them. That's what I'm going to have to do. And this is certainly making the rounds both in the news and on YouTube. And I'll shout out to the homie that sent me this. And he said in the caption, he's like, I think we would all be in that situation if we were in that situation. And what we're referring to is, you have a Virginia Tech football player. I'm not going to try to pronounce this man's name, but he has landed himself in a little bit of hot water. This is an understatement, because he killed a man. The player's name is Isi Etute. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I don't know. You Africans and your damn names. Anyhow, so Mr. Etute was soliciting some company and thought he was getting the company of a female, when in actuality he was getting the company of a male that wanted to pretend to be a female. This did not come to Mr. Etute's knowledge until after the act was complete, which I believe was oral sex. So he responded enraged and beat this person to death and is now on trial for murder. So we will pick this up from the Roanoke Times, and the article and everything that I'm going to reference will be down in the description for you to peruse. Due to the gravity of this subject, I'm going to just read it through. I'm not going to editorialize like I usually do. So without further ado, Virginia Tech football player Isi Etute told police he punched victim after meeting for sexual encounter. A now suspended Virginia Tech football player told police he punched a sexual partner 5 times in the face and stomped on him after discovering the person he thought was a woman was actually a man, according to arguments presented Wednesday in a Montgomery County courtroom. According to the autopsy, all of the bones in Blacksburg resident Jerry Paul Smith's face were broken, his teeth were missing, and he had multiple cranial fractures. The medical examiner's office had previously revealed that Smith had died from blunt force trauma to the head. Ismeeman David Etute of Virginia Beach was arrested and charged with second-degree murder June 2nd in the death of Smith, a Blacksburg restaurant worker. Etute was granted bond in a hearing Wednesday morning in Montgomery County District Court, but Chief Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney Patrick Jensen filed an expedited appeal that would have kept Etute in jail for up to 5 more days. The two sides later Wednesday came to an agreement to release Etute on a $75,000 secured bond under house arrest and electronic monitoring, according to a release put out by the Commonwealth's Attorney Mary Pettit. The order restricts Etute from returning to Montgomery County except to consult with his attorney or to attend court proceedings. The courtroom was packed as Judge Randall Duncan excluded cameras from the courtroom at the start of the proceeding. Smith's family was in attendance. More than a dozen football players, most of them clad in Virginia Tech gear, were there to support Etute. I lost my place there. We're there to support Etute. There he is. Etute was in court Wednesday morning wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. A bailiff was stationed behind Etute throughout the entire hearing, and Etute was handcuffed with his wrists attached to a chain around his waist. Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Jason Morgan argued against bail and outlined new details about the case based on the statements Etute gave to the police. According to those statements, Etute visited the victim's apartment April 10 for oral sex after he was matched up with someone named Angie on Tinder. Etute returned to the apartment May 31st to engage in sexual activity and discovered the person he was matched up with was a man. According to the summaries of evidence made by both Morgan and defense attorney Jimmy Turk. Etute also told the police that Smith did not assault him. Etute told the police he punched the victim 5 times in the face and continued punching them when the person hit the ground and stomped on them. He heard bubbling and gurgling as he left the apartment, but didn't call the police. Police discovered Smith's body in the apartment of the 100 block of Blackburg's North Main Street on June 1st. Turk's response to Morgan outlining the circumstances of the case was to emphasize that the victim solicited Etute for sexual activity. Quote, I'm not saying what happened was acceptable, but this was more than someone just showing up to an apartment and punching someone, Turk told the court. Turk explained on that point outside the courtroom, or expanded on that point outside the courtroom. Quote, nobody deserves to die, but I don't mind saying, don't pretend you are something you're not, Turk told reporters. Don't target or lure anyone under that perception. That's just wrong. Morgan's arguments came after testimony from Etute and his mother, Michelle. Michelle Etute was the first witness called, and Turk led her through a series of questions about her son's background, his relationship with his family, and their living situation. Etute has 3 siblings, including a younger sister, 15, with Down syndrome. Etute, with her voice barely above a whisper, I guess they're talking about the mom here, said there is something at home, quote, there's someone at home, quote, pretty much around the clock at the household with the sister requiring extra care. Etute's parents declined to comment after the hearing. The questions Turk had for Isi Etute were of a similar nature. He talked about the strong relationship he had with his siblings and said his parents were, quote, the strongest people I've ever known even through this situation, end quote. The freshman enrolled at Virginia Tech at mid-year and went through spring camp with the football team. Closest Etute came to referencing the charges he's facing is when Turk asked him how this has affected you. Real hard, he said. I'm trying to stay strong for the people that support me. I feel like I've let a lot of people down. I'm truly sorry for my actions. Turk got emotional, arguing on Etute's behalf during the hearing, and fought to fight back tears, okay, during his closing argument, and again outside of the courtroom. Quote, I've tried more than 100 murder cases in my lifetime, and normally I don't even ask for bail, Turk told the judge with his voice quivering. If there's ever been a time for someone to be considered for bail, this is it. Duncan acknowledged the seriousness of the allegations, but in granting bail, he said there was no evidence that Etute wouldn't appear for the trial or that he posed a danger to the community. Duncan's decision isn't without precedent. Is not. Turk cited 2 cases in Virginia where defendants facing second-degree murder charges were released on bail. He referenced a 2002 case, Jawad v. Commonwealth, and a local case involving Mark Ward Faville from 2015. Based on a court record search, over the last 9 years, there have been at least 3 other second-degree murder cases in Montgomery County Court. And one of the defendants, Taylor Stevers, was also granted bail as well. Stevers was charged with second-degree murder in the death of her estranged husband back in 2017. She was eventually acquitted in 2018 on charges of voluntary manslaughter. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the article. So, as for my opinion, well, first and foremost, because this is actually hearkening me back to the criminal law days. This is why we take this is a time I get to dust that damn degree off and put back on my criminal law hat, and it takes me right back to heat of passion killing. That's what this screams to me. He's up for murder. I would be surprised if he got charged and convicted on murder, because this to me screams heat of passion killing. This to me screams somebody who, in the moment, blacked out because of rage and reacted. And I have a brief summary of what heat of passion murder is. It will be in the description, of course. But before we talk about that, can we talk about the crime that was committed before the homicide? Because before the homicide, there was a crime committed. And that crime it's called rape by deception, or Ponzi rape. And Ponzi rape is a situation, and I'm reading right now from the internet, Ponzi rape is a situation in which the perpetrator obtains the victim's agreement to engage in sexual intercourse or other sex acts, but gains it by deception, such as false statements or actions, including leading the target into illusionary perceptions in order to get sex. So this man, what is his name? Let me find him. This Smith fellow is a rapist by the definition. Is a rapist because when you pretend to be a woman when you are a man and you lure an unsuspecting and, dare I say, a bit naive heterosexual man into intercourse, well, you've just committed rape by deception. Because let's not play this game. If it were okay with him, why wouldn't you have told him? Why wouldn't you have told him that, hey, bro, by the way, I have a dick. Yeah, I'm actually a dude that's trying to blow you. But instead he hid it. And this man found out. I don't want to know how he found out. It said he discovered it. Well, you do the math. You kind of put it together yourself. Sometimes when men get excited by things, they can't necessarily hide their excitement, if you catch my drift. And certain things popping out of certain regions are uncommon for certain people, i.e. women. So this man went into a rage and beat Jerry Paul Smith to death. Well, I think we can rule out number one. Because, I was looking on Twitter and there's a lot of people saying, oh, he knew, he just doesn't want to come out. And this, and this is what gay people do, right? This is it, which is weird because they use homosexuality as almost as like a slight. But at the same time, it's a great thing. So which one is it? Because whenever they want to smear a straight man, they're like, oh, you're gay. Okay, so gay is an insult. So you're admitting that gay is bad. Because that's how you're using it. But at the same time, we get pride. I'm sitting down trying to watch Everybody Loves Raymond reruns last night, and you can't watch it without seeing a goddamn rainbow flag over TV land. So, naturally on Twitter, people were making these comments, and, oh, he's gay, he just isn't. And you know what? It's silly to speculate either way, because quite obviously, this man did not, at the very least, identify himself as gay, which to you people means he's not gay, right? Because we play the identify game. Well, clearly he didn't identify as a gay man because of how he reacted. So by the precedent that you have set forth, where as a man identifieth, so is he or she, right? Then the man's not gay. And secondly, this man is not gay because he beat that man to death with his bare hands. That was the rage of a heterosexual man. That's what I like to call heterosexual berserker. You see it in situations where a man that is straight is put in a perilous situation where his heterosexuality hangs precariously in the balance. And inside of him comes out this Hulk-like rage, whose sole purpose is to safeguard the sanctity of his heterosexuality. This man, and look, the words of Chris Rock come to mind. I'm not saying he should have killed him, but I understand. And I think most heterosexual men understand. Because if this were a different situation, where a man raped a woman, and the woman beat the man to death afterwards, let's just jump through that leap of logic, okay? Let's just accept that as premise for what I'm lining up here. So the man rapes the woman gets enraged and beats him to death. We would be hearing nonstop about how this woman defended herself, how this woman protected herself from an attacker, from a deceitful, evil attacker. But that's not what you're hearing here. Isn't it quite apropos and maybe slightly on the nose that it's happening in quote unquote Pride Month? Because these people, there's a lot of self-policing and house cleaning that needs to happen with these people. Because this kind of shit right here is what pushes people to extremes to say, okay, we just need to wipe them out. This kind of shit right here. It's so at the on one hand, we're supposed to respect you. We're supposed to respect your lifestyle. We're not supposed to push normality on you. We're supposed to give you room to exist, but it's not reciprocated. And that's my biggest problem with the rainbow people. Is that it's almost like they're punking heterosexual people. When in all actuality, your existence is really a totem or an amenity of how, quote unquote, advanced, I would say gilded, our civilization has become. Need we go through the history books to see what happened to people of your ilk? In every culture. In every culture. Still going on in some cultures today. So that's my first problem. That this kind of mutual respect, this kind of respect is only one-sided. It's not mutual. It's we need to accept everything that you do, but it's, that's it. My second point, I seem to recall some legislation where parents who have children who die at the hands of a firearm are allowed to sue the gun manufacturer, as asinine and just utterly ridiculous as that is. So why isn't Etute's family, or even Smith's family, why aren't they able to sue Tinder for this? Because when you go on these sites, whether it's Tinder, whether it's Bumble, whether it's Plenty of Fish, when you go on any of these dating sites and you click that you're a heterosexual man and you're interested in women, somehow gay men and transsexuals end up in your match list, end up in your, they end up in your feed. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like, no, I just said I like women. So why are you putting men in with the women? So why isn't Tinder being held legally responsible for this? Because after all, they set this into motion. They understand that regardless of how they feel and how woke they want to show the world that they are and how sanctimonious this whole thing is about putting men in the women's section, irrespective of that goofy shit that you believe, I'm quite confident that you're aware that there is a segment of the population, the majority of the population, by the way, that is not on your wavelength of bullshit. There is a segment of the population that actually believes that gender is determined at birth, that there's only two genders, that it's either man or woman, and regardless of how profusely you mutilate yourself, you do not cease to be a man or a woman, simply because of snip, snip, zip, zip, rip, rip. Ta-da! So in doing this, Tinder literally set this man up to get killed and set this man up to kill this man. Because again, this is something, and I understand where Etute came from in this, because that's not something that he can ever get back. That's something he now has to live with for the rest of his life. And, just completely irrespective of whether or not it was an honest mistake or he actually intended to do it, it really doesn't matter. Because by his own words, by his own admission, and by the profile, it appeared this man was going to meet a woman. Even had a female name. I believe it was Angie. So everything about this was deception and defrauding. And now this young man's life is basically ruined, regardless of how this turns out. It there are varying degrees of how ruined it is. Granted, certainly if he's acquitted, or which I don't see likely to happen, or if his charges are reduced, which I hope happens. I hope he's acquitted. Shit. But I just don't think it's likely, because we don't live in a world where the justice system, there's a reason why when they show the justice, it's the lady holding the scales. And what is she donning on her face? A blindfold. And that blindfold is supposed to symbolize the impartiality, the indifference of the justices to opinions not privy to the case, to any opinion outside of the law, superfluous to the doctrine being argued. It's not supposed to matter. But we saw with George Floyd and Derek Chauvin being put in jail that public opinion is really all that matters now, not even the law. So I don't think there's a situation where this man gets off. No pun intended. I think he will be convicted. It's Pride Month. And not for nothing, if you people were and talking about the alphabets right now, if it was such a great thing, then why do you have to resort to such base tactics? Why such, chicanery? Why such underhanded, deception? And it's like this weird kind of, got you, you're gay now. No, you're gay. But it's supposed to be something great. So why is it like some kind of trap that's being laid for people who are genuinely not interested in you? This young man's life is effectively ruined. And it's been ruined by a piece of shit in Jerry Paul Smith that deceived him, that lied, that raped. And now this man is going to be punished on top of being victimized by rape. But I thought this is called victim blaming. I thought you're not supposed to do this. Didn't we have to sit through a whole horseshit movement about this? But when rape happens to a man, it doesn't matter. It's dismissed. It's seen as some kind of cosmic justice, tacitly if not explicitly. It's seen as, you're paying the tab that was run up by a bunch of other men that you don't know, that you didn't control, that you didn't tell to rape, but it's your fault for having a dick. And this man was a freshman football player at Virginia Tech, a relatively well-known school in terms of football. ACC is a good conference. I believe they're still in the ACC. You have now potentially cost this man millions of dollars. The opportunity to transform the trajectory of his family tree by playing a game that is beloved by most Americans. That's now gone because of a rapist and a facilitator of the rape in Tinder. That is now gone because regardless of how this case turns out, let's go best case scenario, all charges are dismissed. This man is still poison to the university. Every little rainbow purple hair activist on the campus is going to protest football, even though they don't fucking watch it anyway. And the university will pander and they'll give in like the fucking bitch-made motherfuckers we all have become, apparently. Scared of gays. And I'm not talking about, scared to kiss him on the mouth. That's a rational fear. I'm talking about afraid to say, shut the fuck up, you weirdo. He's going to play football here. The NFL, we're going to draft him. But no, everybody just cowers, caves in, bends over. And where are the damages? Again, this family should be able to sue the shit out of Tinder for this. Because this was completely their fault. You know that the majority of this country do not believe that men can be or are women. But you still push this in order to appease and pander to the disproportionate minority. And it just so happens that in this case, it cost someone their life. And I don't feel sorry for this man at all. at all. I feel zero remorse for this man who got his fucking head beat in. I feel zero remorse. Even as gratuitous and excruciating as that death probably was, it was well deserved. Because rape is rape. Wrong is wrong. Right is right. But what's worse than rape is rape that removes you from your identity in terms of your sexual identity. See, rape of a man raping a woman, that's bad. Not saying that's good. But it jives. Naturally, it jives. But a man who's straight, having that taken away from him by deception, you'd be lucky if this man isn't suicidal at this point. Because I'm trying to put myself in that situation. And after I did something similar, if not worse, to what he did, I don't know that I'd want to continue to live and have to rehearse this in my mind, especially if I'm going to be in a cell. But doesn't matter because he's a man, right? And this only assures that when retribution is had, because we all know the scientific axiom, for every action, there is an equal and opposing reaction. So as they continue to push all this woke shit, all this gay shit onto a country that is not majority gay, not even a quarter gay, not even a tenth gay, just know that there is a reaction to that is forming that you haven't seen yet. But as you continue to do this, you continue to inch your way closer to whatever that is. And when it befalls you and you're looking for allies, you will not find them because of shit like this. And you just don't see. You can't see beyond yourself to realize how much of a nuisance, how much of a pest you're becoming in a country where you're not the majority power. And this goes equally for both gays and blacks. Shit. Most of the people annoying the fuck out of us are gay blacks, huh? How about that? 2 birds, 1 stone. 2 girls, 1 cup. Between radically racist black politicians, black people becoming voluntarily, it would seem, the new face of debauchery in America and getting away with it for the most part, in that there are 2 different standards. Hell, you just had a court justice or a court judge in Austin, Texas, that said he will throw the book at white offenders and he will be lenient to black offenders. This is a judge, a sitting judge, that said this. When you have imagery of white people being victimized, kneeling, apologizing for their whiteness, and now you have gays out of control trying to dominate the majority culture. At the same time, you have immigrants pouring over the border in record numbers in different politicians. I mean, could you create a better return for the Aryan Brotherhood, for neo-Nazis? These people are going to be received like the fucking Avengers when they come back. And white people that were otherwise not racist are going to say, you know what, boys, do your thing. But ladies and gentlemen, I digress. You know, this rapist, the deceased, there's no sympathy here. I said it before. To quote the great Major Payne movie, if you want my sympathy, look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. And that is where you will find sympathy. Because this is going to go down as this man, the rapist, being the victim, when in fact he, in collusion with Tinder, were the perpetrators. And you will not hear any gay people call this man out. All the gay activists and celebrities and all the weirdos that have whatever their thing is, they won't say anything about this. If they do, they'll decry. I know what you'll hear. You'll hear homophobia in the black community. That's what you'll hear. It'll be back to beating that drum. Don Lemon, probably, whatever other gay blackface they can muster. Homophobia, transphobia in the black community. That's going to be the headline of this. Not demented piece of shit targets unsuspecting teenager and rapes him. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. A little bit of a it's not a pleasant subject, but it needs to be talked about. Everyone needs to talk about this, because otherwise it's just going to get brushed under the carpet and dismissed as it's somehow this man's fault. Now, that being said, young man, your taste, I can't see a scenario. This dude looks like Ernest. Well, I guess looked is more appropriate. Oof. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got for you today. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. So until the next time, peace.